What's up, guys? Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. Join alongside Tim in Green Bay here to talk some draft. Man, we got a lot of stuff to get into. Plenty of conversation tonight in terms of prospects where they may or may not fit within the threshold, who's on the bubble, who's not, will the Packers reach on a guy or two. It's going to be a fun conversation, Tim. We got a lot of stuff teed up, man. How was your day, pal?
Good, man. Ready to go. Talk some ball.
All right. And Jacob will be joining us here shortly. He's a little busy right now, sounds like. So, hey, right in time there. That's wonderful. Love the name. Love the name. Yeah, that's
here he is. Look at this.
How many times are you going to come to my press conference late?
All right. There you go. Jacob's in the house.
What's going on, guys? Everybody having a good night?
Everything's going good there, Mr. Manscaped. But all right, let's get into it, boys. Let's hit a little bit of Twitter news, just some stuff that got tweeted out. Nothing big, no breaking news or anything. I want to share this with you guys. So me and Emilio were in here for like an hour after the pod ended the other night, and we were just going through tweaking the draft board, throwing ideas back and forth. And I said, you know what? I wonder what the comp is in terms of a former Packer player. For James Pierce Jr. Like, people, hey, he's too loud, he's too this, he's too that, right? So I went into the old AI system and typed it in, and look at who we got, boys. I don't know if you guys can see this or not, but we got Mr. Clay Matthews as the first comp. Says Packers edge rusher thresholds under Brian Gutekunst favor bigger bodies, 260-plus pounds, but historically they've had leaner, speedier guys, especially in earlier eras under coaches Mike Holmgren, who mixed profiles. Let's check some notables with available data. And the number one on the list was Clay Matthews, the third, 6'3", 255 pounds. I'm sure glad people weren't saying he was too light, Arm length, 32 and a quarter inch. Obviously, that's not like out of this park. 40-yard dash, 4.67. 4.67. Clay, you guys remember how fast he was on the football?
Oh, yeah.
So we get all caught up in, is the guy a 4.5? Is he a 4.4? 4.6 is plenty fast enough. Well, it just so happens that James Pierce Jr. ran a 4.440, right? Vertical jump, 35.5 inches. Broad jump, 10'1". RAS of 9.03. If you watched him play football, you would think it was a 10, Matthews was a 3-4 outside linebacker in Dom Capers' scheme, known for speed and bend, 52.5 sacks. He's 2 inches shorter and 10 pounds heavier than Pierce, with a slower 40, but better vertical. Arm length is close. So there you go. The people that think 7 pounds or 8 pounds or whatever it may be to crack that 250 mark is just too darn small, I laugh at them. They'll be the same ones complaining this fall when we don't have enough sacks, when we don't have enough pressures. You know what I'm saying? So what do you guys think about that? It did. I'm not going to lie. It caught me off guard.
I mean, it's a friendly reminder just how big of a freak Clay really was. Let's not forget he played inside a little bit too when he was asked. Had some versatility, and I do think it's interesting though that's the first comp that came out is to Clay Matthews. It makes me feel pretty good about James Pierce Jr. here in the draft.
Definitely.
Yeah, I agree. I think we get too hung up on, we did it with the this guy's too old. Goody doesn't draft guys that are too old. We do it with, we don't draft this position in this round. And we do it with a lot of different things and a lot of different metrics. At the end of the day, if the guy can play football and if he can fit in and make our team better, I think that it's a good chance that Goody's got an eye on him.
Yeah, definitely. And that's the other thing is there's some people that believe that it was just a smokescreen. It's just a smokescreen. Oh, okay, got it. We literally ended up with 11 of the top 30 last year on our roster. And we only drafted one player. Somebody had pointed this out on Twitter. We only drafted one player that we didn't have a top 30 visit, and that was Marshawn Lloyd. So pretty impressive. So the top 30 visits matter. If there were smoke screens, why in the heck did we end up with that many of them? That it takes a lot for that to just fall in place on your board. You know what I mean, on draft night. So again, I thought that was interesting that Clay Matthews was the comp there for James Pierce Jr. Now, a couple other things. You guys remember a few days ago we had shared the news that the Packers had met with a prospect And it was, I think he was playing for Wofford, I believe it was. Okay. His name is Anthony Latany, maybe Latany, defensive tackle. Well, his RAS is official now 985, I believe is what it is. I think it's an 8. Yeah, 985 ends up being his RAS without the agility testing yet. And actually gave the account a follow. He gave us a follow, and we had retweeted this out. And seems like a super cool dude. But obviously, you see him here at his pro day as well. I mean, obviously, he's explosive. 6'3", 289.5 pounds, 10-foot broad jump. He had a 36-inch vert and a 4.9 average 40. So just somebody from one of the smaller schools that'll probably end up being one of these cats that come in the later rounds or possibly an undrafted free agent. So that's really exciting. Thought that was cool that we came across him there on X. Also, we got some more news from our buddy Easton Butler today as a Florida State Seminole. The Packers met with him. Defensive line Sean Lolahay, I think is how you say it, met with the Packers at his pro day, spending extra time working out with Green Bay at linebacker and fullback.
Yeah.
So really, really cool that a defensive lineman is working out at 2 other positions too. They're looking at this guy as like, hey, he may be kind of a Swiss Army knife. You know, it says Lolahay was a day 3 pick leading up to the 2024 season is what it says. So there you go. Thought that was kind of cool. You got all excited about that, didn't you, Jacob? Yeah, I like the Mike Vrabels of the world that play multiple positions and jump on each side of the ball. And just every now, you just need football players, man. That's what you need.
Yeah.
So Travis Hunter's not the only one in the draft, huh?
Exactly.
I miss the old school fullback too. It'd be nice to know that we could actually have somebody that can come in there and be a thumper and not just some like 4th string tight end or something like that. I want somebody that takes it seriously.
Yeah. You missed the William Henderson days.
Oh, handy. Give me that.
William Henderson, I got a chance to meet him. One of the nicest guys you ever meet. Had shoulders like, oh my God. But the big thing with him, his eyes were like green or something. I don't know if you guys ever got a chance. Did y'all get a chance to meet him?
I've never met William Henderson, no.
Yeah, he was like, what's up? It was him and Scott Wells I met at an autograph session. He's like, what's up, Smiley? And I'm like, what's going on, man? And I looked in his eyes. It was like, got in a trance.
It's the same thing. If you ever meet Randall Cobb, he's got those kind of eyes too.
Oh, I know what you're talking
Shout out
about.
to Randall Cobb. Yeah, he's got get you kind of stuck.
Sometimes the light reflects at the Oval Office. The girls, the same thing, man. It's crazy. I get all the dollars.
I don't think that's the light. I think that's the tequila over there. That's just me, though.
It's whatever.
AFAM says Clayton got lost in his eyes. It was funny, man. What you said about Randall Cobb too. Ike Taylor made a comment when they were doing the top 100. Randall Cobb made the top 100 one year, and he was just talking about how quick twitch he was and this and that out of the slot, and then he went. And man, his eyes, you get lost in his eyes. He said, I'll never forget, Ike Taylor said, boy, you cute. That's what he said. I was crying, man. But anyway, William Henderson, a good dude, man. He would catch the ball in the backfield. He'd run a fullback dive if you need him to, and he would absolutely plaster a linebacker if needed as well. So
I mean, I still miss guys like John Kuhn
was the last one we had, right?
I was just gonna say, Well, no, Henry Pearson, right?
Yeah. I suppose. Yeah.
Or that Gronkowski, remember that?
Ripkowski.
Ripkowski, yeah.
I love that dude until that play.
Fullback with that name, Ripkowski. This dude's going to be a dog. He sucked. It just didn't work out, right? Corey Hall, remember when they drafted him? Mike McCarthy was big on that fullback, man. He was going to run that full house set, hell or high water. What he liked to do was put a tight end back there and a fullback back there, right? So you have essentially 3 backs in the backfield, but it was a tight end and a fullback. And then next thing you know, you motion that tight end out, and now you've got a little bit of a mismatch. If someone went to a heavier base defense, not necessarily a 4-3, but maybe like a 4-4 or something, thinking, okay, we got to stop this full house run. Yep. And you would think, okay, it's just eye candy, but they would run the ball out of that set a lot. That was a lot of fun to watch for sure. So, all right, there you go with the old ooses there. Next, you've got Easton Butler put this tweet out. I thought this was interesting. He said, per source, Pat Moore, the assistant director of college scouting for the Packers, was present at the Missouri Pro Day yesterday. All right, so we've got a Missouri Pro Day sighting. So what I thought we'd do real quick, won't take a second. Let's jump to the board, and you're going to see some funky looking colors on the board. Me and Emilio have been testing some stuff out. So when you see this RAS stuff in the yellow, that is, I'm sorry, people get on me when I say yellow in the yellow box.
We'll call it gold, baby. It's gold.
What are the heart eyes emoji? I missed one episode. Now I don't know what's going on.
Look, that's
Jake,
the Randall Cobb emoji, the lost in your eyes emoji.
We mentioned that the other day in the chat, and you scolded me for it. You're like, can't we just put like a flex or something, like a muscle?
Oh,
you got to stay in touch with your feminine side, bro. The heart emoji means they are right on the border, or they are a complete threshold meet in terms of athletic profile. Okay, so like we've got all the minimum athletic thresholds. There's going to be some of these guys are going to drop off, but I put the ones who are right on the border, okay, as well, so we can get an idea of, all right, these guys are really, really close to meeting that athletic threshold for the Packers, because all that stuff's important, obviously, on whether or not Goody is going to take that guy. Hardy the Prophet, thank you for the super chat, buddy. Says, did you guys see the vid I sent to the text line? Trying to think which one it was, Hardy. Let me see here. Let me go to the text line. I can't pull the text line up on here. You see this AI wild little English. Okay, yeah. We'll check it out later. He says a little language in it. So I'll check it out later, see if we can share it on the show, buddy. I'll check it tonight. The text line is getting harder to keep up with because we got a lot of stuff going on, a lot of DMs happening in the Patreon group, and obviously we want to prioritize that. And I'm trying to get back to the text line as well. But that's why I haven't been promoting it as much, is because I don't want you guys just sitting out there texting and not being able to get through. But obviously, Hardy, I reached out to him because
Hardy says you can't play it on here. Don't.
There you go. Appreciate that, Hardy. Thank you for the heads up. Yeah.
Jacob's like, ooh, it must be a good one.
Yeah. Send it to the group chat.
Exactly. So the board now updated. Again, the C is the captain. That means they were a captain of their team, right? You got the wrestling emoji, means they got a wrestling background. The heart eyes means Goody's got the googly eyes for him. It means he meets the threshold, right? The cheese obviously means the Packers have met with them at some point, and the target, the bullseye, means that it's a top 30 visit. So we've got two targets now here in the top 19 or top 18 of our board, I should say, top 17 actually. So that's what the emojis mean up to this point. There will be others added later, but that's where it's at right now. Now, if you look over to the yellow boxes, what that is with RAS, that means that's unconfirmed by Math Bomb. Okay. So me and Emilio have started going behind the scenes and gathering all the information we can, because we want the board to shake out as quickly as possible. But that yellow tells us probably not finished yet. Okay. So those are the guys that have a 9+ RAS or -5s, but they're unconfirmed, if that makes sense. So we've been kind of working on that.
Dude, James Pierce is just looking more and more appetizing here, isn't it?
Bro, I'm telling you, it's what you're going to want to look for, Jacob, is guys who have 4+ emojis. That means, okay, that checks all the boxes. My goodness. And we'll put them in a different color when we build the final board as well. But yeah, James Pierce Jr. is the one that's sticking out. Shamar Stewart is too, right? But with James Pierce Jr., the big thing is not only was he a top 30 visit, but they also met with him at the combine. So let me put it this way. If they met with him, I think it was the combine that they met with him at. If they had met with him at the combine and thought, no, we don't want this dude, they wouldn't have wasted a top 30 visit, right? So they were obviously impressed with the interview they had there, just talking to him at the combine. Hey, let's bring you in for a top 30 visit. And they also worked them out most of the time behind the scenes. So if he's there at 23, sign me up, bro. I'm telling you, he is a speed demon. He is the perfect opposite of Rashawn Gary, who rushes with power. And then you get that guy and move him around, because Gary rushed off the left side, he rushed off the right side. Then you got LVN that you can mix and match in. You got Brenton Cox Jr., who led the team in pressure percentage. You got Kingsley Enagbare, who when he's not ripping people's heads off of face masks and stuff, he's a damn good football player too. So I really I would love that edge room with James Pierce Jr. With that being said, I would much, much rather have a 3-tech. We talked about this all offseason, right? If you've got a 3-tech and an edge right there together on the big board, and they got the same grade, similar, sign me up. But the problem is, when you look at where James Pierce Jr. is on the board here at number 11, the closest edge defender to him is Mike Green at 14. And when you look at it in increments of 5, which is our tiers, Mike Green has a 16.4 as it sits right now. And James Pierce Jr. is a 13.6, which means James Pierce Jr. is one tier higher on our board than obviously Mike Green is. So that's one way to look at the board. But anyway, the purple box, that means character concerns. Okay. And again, we dug into the James Pierce Jr. and we came away going, that's a big nothing burger. Mm-hmm. Diving into the Mike Green stuff, we went across the board here. We talked about all the details, and we all came away going, probably need to put something there. Doesn't mean we wouldn't draft him, but let's just a quick reminder, hey, there was something there, right?
Yeah, and way more serious too.
Exactly. Yep. Because if you know, as it sits right now, legally he's done nothing wrong. But if you've got all the warning signs, and let me put it this way, if both of those guys are on the board, and let's say Goody's got the similar grade, right? Let's say that he's actually got them in the same tier. I'm going James Pierce Jr. over Mike Green simply because James Pierce Jr. got caught speeding with no license. The other thing was, you know, obviously I don't want to go into all the details again, but you know, it's a lot more serious. Like
it was terrible. Yeah, exactly.
Terrible. So there you go. Now let's get back to the Missouri talk. So we were at the Missouri Pro Day, right? Look who the top one on the board is, Mr. Armand Mimbo, offensive tackle.
There's a guy.
He does meet the minimum athletic threshold for the Packers, or at least borderline. I'm pretty sure he knocked it out of the park. We'll hit that article later. That's already up on Patreon. I've got 3 other articles that's going to be dropping on Patreon for that group. Appreciate everybody in there. Hopefully you're enjoying those. We're getting good feedback on it, and just a way to kind of give you guys extra content since you're supporting the show. So for $3 a month to get all that extra content, anything we use on the show, when we do a deep dive, you've got access to it. Oh man, what was Clayton talking about? I wasn't paying attention, or I couldn't even understand his dumb redneck accent. Let me go in there and read what he was talking about, right? So you can check all that in the Patreon group. So next on the list, so Armand Mimbo again in the 10 spot out of Missouri. Next is Luther Burden. Heard that name? So Luther Burden out of Missouri, wide receiver. He was a captain. He did not meet the threshold to the best of my knowledge. So probably looking at Armand Mimbo more than Luther Burden. Not that you wouldn't draft Luther Burden if he fell far enough, but it just so happens he's sitting in the 23 spot for us. He did score a 9+ RAS as it sits right now if it ends up being official. So what do you think about those two? Let's just start the conversation there. Those two guys out of Missouri, do you think there's a legit shot if Armand Mimbo falls to 23 would the Packers take him? Or do you think the Packers would take Luther Burden and completely ignore the minimum threshold?
Yeah, that's tough because I would say yes, no doubt, take Mimbo, just because, I mean, looking at the grades alone and the age factor and the size. But if he's on the board, does that necessarily mean he is the best available? You know, like I don't know how we feel. Obviously, if we're going to go O-line, I think tackle is the spot to go now because we kind of beefed up on that interior a little bit. I don't know, Jacob, what do you think? I'm kind of on the fence because, you know me, I like the over 6 foot tall receivers, but Luther Burden III is, man, the tape on him is legit and interesting. So obviously if either one of them would be on the board in the first round for us, it'd probably be a good look. Where are your thoughts? I think most fans would probably prioritize wide receiver right now over O-line, but I'm still a fan of going D-line in the first round this year.
Yeah, I mean, they got to go there and check out Armand just because they want to do their due diligence. I believe, if anything, they're probably there for the likes of a Luther Burden, but even maybe somebody like Theo Weiss, I believe is what it is. And there's also an edge defender that has not been talked about that
Johnny
much.
Walker
Jr., baby. I swear, if you got a guy like that, oh, man. I mean, honestly, there's a bunch of kind of, and Missouri's always kind of had some scrappier type guys, so who knows if they actually think that they're going to have a chance at Armand. I don't think that's probably a realistic possibility. I think there's a chance that Luther Burden could be around, which I think is absolutely that we should be there tracking him, seeing how he fits with the system. But then there are probably a couple other kind of diamonds in the rough that they could be hoping to kind of polish off there. So I think Emilio's new Travis Glover is Armand Mimbo. I just don't think it's going to happen.
I think Membu's probably a top 20 pick. Just
kind of feels like
prediction.
I think he might be top 10, man.
Yeah. I could see that too. I really could, man. Fred McFarley asked, what threshold did Burden not clear? I don't have his exact measurements pulled up, but the article that we put together the other day, here are the thresholds for a wide receiver. And we were going to dive into this after we go through the Missouri Pro Day information. Height, 6 foot, okay, but Reed at 5'11" was an exception. All right, it says average is 6'1" on receivers they draft. Weight, 200 pounds plus. Reed was at 191, but an outlier average is 207. Arm length is 31 inches plus preferred. 40-yard dash is sub 4.5 seconds. 3-cone drill, sub 7.0 seconds. Short shuttle, sub 4.3 seconds. Bench press, 10 plus reps. Vertical jump, 34 inches plus explosiveness. Broad jump, 9'6", and then RAS of 8 plus. Obviously, he clears the RAS. I could go and get that information right now so we could just answer the question. If you guys want to hang out and talk for a second and just chat, I can actually fire up the system here and do a quick search and see why he didn't meet that. If you guys want to, like I said, just maybe hang out with the chat or second, or just comments again on Luther Burden. Or we can move on to the next two, and I can come back to it either way.
I think realistically of these two, I think Luther Burden's got the best chance of being on the board at 23. And that being said, I'm still hesitant to pull the trigger on him. It'd be real interesting to maybe do a mock that up and see if we can get the board to fall that way and see who else is maybe on the board in addition to Luther Burden. Because, I mean, there's a handful of receivers that I like a lot more, but I don't know. What are your thoughts, Jacob? Would you take Burden at 23 if he was there, if Membo's gone already?
No. I just have to believe that there's a number of other players at specific positions that we are much more in need of, and to go out there and, I don't want to say waste, but to spend number 23 pick on a guy that's, he's not tiny, but 5'11" at best. Again, he's a little bit thicker bodied, but I just don't think that that's the guy for the first round, especially like where does that put him? Where does that leave our wide receiver room? We got a bunch of guys, kind of the Spider-Man meme. Everybody's pointing at each other like, are you the X? Are you the F? Are you the Z? Like, what's going on here? I'd much more like, Ryan did a great breakdown of some of the bigger bodied receivers, and to your point, he really loved Jaden Higgins, and Trey Harris is, I think, his favorite. So I'm on board with that. I still love Pat Bryant. I still like a lot of these guys, even Jalen Noel. If we're going to get a somewhat shorter, quote unquote, type guy, I'd much rather have one that's a little more well-rounded and I know as a dog. Again, Jack Besh, there's just a lot of them.
Mm-hmm. So here's what we got. This is what the AI system said here. Yes, Luther Burden III meets the Packers' minimum athletic threshold for wide receivers with a minor caveat regarding his height. His weight and exceptional athletic testing numbers align with or exceed the team's historical preferences, and his 5'11" frame is close enough to 6 foot that it's unlikely to disqualify him, especially given his other strengths. The Packers have occasionally bent their size thresholds for players with unique skills. Randall Cobb at 5'10", and Burden's dynamic playmaking ability, evidenced by his 30 forced missed tackles in 2024 and 21 career touchdowns, could make him an exception if Gutekunst sees him as a fit for Jordan Love's offense. Thus, based on the available data, Burden qualifies as a viable candidate under the Packers standards. So it's one of those it's close. You probably give it to him, but he's on the outside looking in. Do you guys want to add him? What do y'all think? Because this is what we want to do through this process. If we find a prospect like this where he's kind of on that borderline, do we want to throw it out there like, hey, he meets the threshold? Because we have drafted – you're muted, Tim. We have drafted receivers, right, in the past that are much shorter. Yeah. I'm going to say a name, and you're going to go, well, that didn't work out. Amari Rodgers, I think, was 5'9", I believe. So.
But I think Jaden Reed would be another example, and he worked out to this point. Exactly. So I would lean towards the side of, if they're close enough, man, I think you gotta make that move.
I just don't see it happening in the first. That he's the guy. I just don't see it. Did y'all cover yesterday? I'm sure you did. You had to have. That Goot was the only person at Tet's Pro Day?
Yeah.
Yeah? Okay.
You talking about McMillan, right? Tet McMillan?
Yeah. I'm just curious what your thoughts were roughly with that, or if that was any kind of – it seems weird.
I think it says everything.
You think it says he's going to trade up in the first and try and get him?
I think it's Goot covering all the bases, like – he could fall. I hear some people say he's not wide receiver one, that Matthew Golden is, right?
Wow.
So, if that's the case and Tet falls to 23, take him, right?
Well,
So,
what if the rumors of what Daniel Jeremiah was saying about how his 40 time is drastically overstated, that he's more in the 4.6s, even maybe 4.7s? But I'd go back to, again, there's a difference between underwear speed and what you actually have when you're on the field, and the adrenaline's pumping and all that kind of stuff. That's why I can't put Luther Burden at 23 and pick, you know what I'm saying? Put him up there with those same kind of echelon, just because if for some reason Tet does fall, or if there's a Walter Nolan, or even, Shamar, a lot of these guys, if Green falls, a lot, Pierce falls. I just don't see the pick being Luther Burden, the third, with the 23rd pick.
Yeah. And if you do that, you're most likely going to try to flex Jaden Reed out to Z, right? So you kind of hem yourself in a little bit more. In terms of Tet McMillan, I mean, is there anyone else who said that? And I've got a lot of respect for Daniel Jeremiah, but what does that mean? Can you tell us a scout clocked in much less than that? Is that what he's saying? Because we heard reports of a sub 4.5. We heard reports of a 4.51. The consensus across the intrawebs is that it was legit a 4.51, and then others were saying no, it was a 4.47 or something like that. So
are the others who are saying it was lower the ones trying to get him to fall on the board?
And again, where does Daniel Jeremiah? He's our head scout, right? We treat him and Greg Cosell, Dane Brugler, people like that as that's our go-to guys. But he also has working relationships with the GMs. He works for NFL.com, right? He works for the NFL Network, NFL.com. That's who he works for. His employers are the 32 owners. Well, the 31 plus Mark Murphy, and now obviously us making the change there. So you got to kind of take that into consideration too. You turn on the tape. I don't look at Tet McMillan's tape and go, man, he's slow. I just don't do it, So, and his RAS was through the roof. And when we did all of our comparisons, the AI system pulls data from all over the internet, right? And it gives you literally, I want to say it was NFL.com that actually had that information that was shared on their website that he ran that 40. And then someone who works for that establishment comes in and goes, I think it's closer to a 4.6. Okay, where did you see somebody watch that? Did they stop watch that? You don't have that information. You understand what I'm saying, Jacob?
Yep.
That's the part. I want hard evidence of something, and when everybody's saying, well, the majority of people are saying, look, he's a 4.4, 4.5 guy, and then one dude is saying 4.6, it just maybe I'm a skeptic, but it makes me throw a red flag. I wonder why he said that, So who knows? Next on the list at Missouri's Pro Day was Brady Cook, quarterback out of Missouri at 207. So it drops way off, boys, way off. Then we get down to Johnny Walker Jr. We got him at 281.
Yeah.
The reason he's so low on our board, and we don't have his RAS in yet, which he can only boost him a max of 5 points, is PFF 2023, 491st at his position. And then in 24, he jumped to 66th. The PFF big board at the end of the college football season had him at 217. The consensus big board had him at 295. So my question, Jacob, is if his name wasn't Johnny Walker Jr., would you still be interested? That's what I need to know.
Probably not.
Appreciate the honesty. It's the coolest name in the draft this year, man. There's no doubt about it. So, all right, let's see what else we got here. I think it's showing we got a couple more. Theo Weiss, wide receiver. He's way down the board here. We don't have much information on him at all, other than he was in about the 206 spot. We got him at 317 because we got a lot more data on other players. And then you got a Dylan Carnell safety. So the Packers didn't meet with any of those guys, to the best of my knowledge. So that is your Missouri Pro Day update. Seeing that Goody, like I said, had dropped in there. So let's move along to this article that we put together the other day, and talk about some of these wide receiver numbers, okay? And I think you guys may not be surprised. I was surprised at the one that really popped, like, holy cow, Goody's going to fall in love with this dude if these numbers are completely correct. And as always, if you guys see something different with these numbers that the internet has pulled, let us know, all right? So you'll get a little teaser, or a little spoiler, I should say, here of who I'm talking about. But Emeka Egbuka is the one that really, really popped out to me. Now, again, when you go back to our board, I won't put it on the screen, but when you see where Emeka Egbuka is at on our big board, he is now down to the 28th spot. So he's right there in that range, right? So for Goody, like we talked about Jordan Morgan last year, we felt like there was a tackle or two that was better than Jordan Morgan according to our board. What did he do? He went down 2 or 3 spots and got the guy that he really liked. Could be Emeka Egbuka, but let's hit this article real quick and talk about everything that's in here. So it's just talking about tackling all the stuff that we just mentioned. I just mentioned the threshold: 6 foot, 200 plus pounds, arm length 31 inches, blah, 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 right? Here are the players that meet those thresholds or are borderline meeting those thresholds, and it will tell you projected right here. See that projected 4.5 or 4.45? So when I did the more recent study on it, it was actually pulling hard data saying that they were going to count it as a 4.47 at the moment. So Tet McMillan, 6'5", 212, 33 and a quarter inch arms, 40-yard dash. He did not run, but it's projected to be a 4.45. His 3-cone did not test, 6.9. Short shuttle did not test, projected 4.2. Bench press did not test. Vertical did not test. It's projected to be a 36-inch. So they're expecting him to be a fit. It says, yes, McMillan's 6'5", 212-pound frame is ideal, and his projected speed and jumps align with Watson's profile of 4.36 40 with 38.5-inch vert, likely a top 10 pick, but a perfect Packers receiver. Second on this list, however, is Emeka Egbuka. Does this catch anybody else off guard? He's 6'1", 205, and a 4.42 40-yard dash. I was like, damn, this dude is like everything Goody would want in a wide receiver. Am I the only one that felt like that? Looking at Emeka Egbuka?
I don't think so. I would agree with that statement. I don't think you're alone in that. Although there are a lot of 6'1", 200-pound dudes in this draft, but Egbuka is the guy that kind of jumps off the tape when you're talking about these thresholds that we're talking about. It's like T-Mac and then Egbuka, in my opinion, are like the first two that comes to mind.
Yeah, I agree. I like the explosiveness, the RAS. I love that the fact that he's from a big school. And I mean, gosh, if we've turned down another Ohio State receiver that we're projected, the world's never going to be right again. But I could see that being a sneaky good pick for us, and all of a sudden it working out real well. Do you guys know is he a decent blocker? Is he willing to get his hands dirty in that aspect?
If you guys want to cross-check with PFF, that's cool with me. That way we can kind of see what his blocking is and everything like that, and we can come back to him in a second. It says fit, yes. Egbuka hits every mark: size, speed, agility, and explosiveness. His 10'2" broad jump and his 36-inch vertical scream Packers receiver, first-round potential, near pick 23. So, and again, on our board, we've got him in the 28 spot. So there's a good chance he will be available when the Packers pick, if the draft fell, the way our board lays. Do you have that information there, Jacob, or what? Take a second, man. We'll move along. We'll come back to it.
I was going to can I get one thing real quick while we're still on him? Heath Soder in the chat. How do we fully evaluate his tape given that Harrison was on the other side? Great point. Not looking at the tape, but looking at the numbers. So in 2023, 22 and 23 were decent years for him. Obviously in 24, Harrison Jr. was in the NFL. So last year he was over 1,000 yards again, 12.5 yards of reception, 100 targets, 81 catches, 16 game full season. He's grading out nearly at an 80. I don't know. Looks pretty good to me, right? At least it looks like that Harrison Jr. wasn't, a crutch or
right,
propping him up. It looks like Egbuka can certainly play the position. I don't know if we've got. Did you find a pass block grade on him?
No, it's glitching out on me right now.
Cool. Don't worry about it, man. We'll maybe look it up here in a second. If anybody else wants to look it up too in the chat, do that. See what Emeka Egbuka's run blocking grade was. Okay, we can check it out. So next on the list is Alec Anyamanor, if you say that name correctly. Stanford, height 6'2", 210 pounds, 32-inch arms, 40-yard dash of 4.48, 3-cone of 6.95, short shuttle 4.25. It says fit, yes. Anyamanor, 6'2", 210-pound build plus solid speed and jumps, fits perfectly. Physical blocker with upside, day 2 value. So we'll see where we got Ayumanor there. And if you'll keep an eye on the chat there for me, Jacob, we'll see if anybody finds that run blocking grade. But what do you guys think about Alec here?
I mean, I'd be pumped about him. I know that's one of Ryan's favorites. The decent 40. I like the 3-cone. Vertical's all right. Again, that's another guy I'd like to see whether or not it says he's a physical blocker with upside. So that to me says that that'd kind of be a really kind of perfect fit. Yeah, I've always been just kind of a little bit. I don't know why. He's one of those guys that I haven't completely bought into, and I don't know why. But Daryl saying his blocking percentage was a 73%. I guess I don't know what that percentage means.
Yeah, I don't know what that means, Daryl. I don't know what blocking percentage is.
Yeah, but it's. I mean, if it says that he's willing, that's one of the things that Goody prioritizes. So,
yeah, and we've got him in the 77 spot on our board. So he's obviously around that day 2, day 3 value, something like that. It seems like with day 2 value, they probably have him a little bit higher than we do. So, yeah, he's in the 77 spot. And the big thing that brought him down was 2024's PFF grade. Really, his PFF grades across the board. He was 140th his position in 2023, 160th in 24. PFF big board had him at 31. Let's see here. The consensus big board had him at 48. The 33rd team had him at 43. Dane Brugler had him at 90, and his RAS is a 9+. And let's see here. We had some other where's it at here? Someone I've seen in the chat. Drew D says, apparently there's a controversy about McMillan's 40. I've seen this too. Jordan Schultz reported that he ran a 4.48, but Albert Breer reported 4.54, 4.57, or 4.55 and 4.57. Let's say it's a 4.55, right? Is that fast enough for you boys? Fast enough for me. I don't know how y'all feel, right? So with that being said, though, with McMillan, first of all, the Jordan Schultz thing is hilarious because Albert Breer, Ian Rappaport, Adam Schefter, all those guys came up through the business together. You guys remember the little Starbucks spiel that happened a little while back here where Jordan Schultz walked up in there and bucked up on Ian? And now Albert Breer's coming in and trying to debunk something he's reporting too. It's pretty funny. I think it's hilarious that whole little crew is kind of grouped together. So,
yeah. Real quick, just to circle back, Emeka Egbuka, not decent. His whole career has been run blocking in the 50s, so that's probably not going to be a big catalyst. Same with Elick, a little bit better. Both of his career were mid-60s blocking, so
got it. So
worth looking at.
Next, Tory Horton, 6'2", 208, 4.44 40 is what they've got him listed at here. 3-cone is 6.90, short shuttle 4.20, 13 bench reps, and a vertical of 37 inches. This thing keeps moving on me here. I apologize. Trying to keep it zoomed in for y'all. And of course, it disappeared again. Yes, Horton's size and athleticism, 4.4 40 with 37-inch vert, are spot on. Speed and blocking ability make him a Packers fit day 2 to 3 range. So there's another player, Tory Horton, out of Colorado State. We talked about him a little bit earlier in the offseason, didn't we, Tim? If I remember right.
Yeah, even as recently as a couple of weeks ago, I think we talked about Horton. Again, probably second round at best, right? Probably third or higher. But we'll see. He certainly has the measurables.
I really like Horton. That's one of my sneaky picks. He had an offensive PFF grade in 2024, 82.3. The year before, 87.9. And in that year, he had a run blocking grade of 79.4. So super cool with that, dude.
We got nice. Tory Horton in the 118 spot on our board. So, PFF really pops off the board here too, Jacob, like you're saying. So very, very interesting there. So Tory Horton, another name to kind of keep an eye on there a little later in the draft. Next is Isaiah Bond, 5'11", 185. Notice it says short, right? So he's a little short for their liking. He's a little light for their liking. Those are the two it looks like he's coming up short on. It says no. Bond's 4.38 speed and agility are elite, but at 5'11", 185, he's too small for Green Bay's typical wide receiver mold. Slot top, not their preference. So again, we have drafted receivers at that size, right, before, but at least at the shorter range. I want to say with Amari Rodgers, him being significantly shorter, he was a lot thicker though, right? I want to say he was somewhere around 200 pounds, something like that. So he was built kind of like the old Percy Harvin build, right, around that size. Exactly right, Coach F. Next is Jalen Royal, 6 foot 205, 4.4 640. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. This is the one we kept talking about, right, Tim? Let's Let's see, 4-1-2 short shuttle, 15 reps on the bench. So he's pretty stout on the bench. 36.5-inch vert, broad jump, 10'1". RES is estimated at a 9.3. Yes, Royals just hit 6 foot, but his 205 pounds, speed and jumps align well. Late round sleeper.
See, I agree with that 100%, but I would say this: it wouldn't surprise me if Jalen Royals moved up, even on draft day, if he was taken a little bit sooner.
All right. And Jalen Royals is in the 75 spot for us, and the Packers have already met with him once. And obviously, he's going to get the old googly eyes. So, what do you think about Jalen Royals, Jacob? How you feel about him?
I like him a lot. It's one of those things. I don't know if he's quite the type of dominant receiver that a lot of the Packer fans are looking for, but I think he may be one of those guys that plays a bit bigger than he is, on paper. And I think it could be, honestly, a really pretty good fit.
All right. Next, we've got Is it Savion or Savion? How would you say that, Jake? Savion Williams out of TCU, 6'3", 215 pounds, 33-inch arms, 40-yard dash of 4.50. Says that's a miss, okay? Because we talked about that. You want to go sub 4.5 if at all possible. 3 cones, 7.02, right? That's a miss. Short shuttle 4.28. It's good. 11 reps, 34-inch vert, 9'7" broad jump. It says fit, yes. Williams 6'3", 215 pound frame is ideal, but his 4.5 40 and 7.02 3 cone are slightly off. Still, size and explosiveness fit. Day 3 option. So if it's one of those you're using like a first round pick for it, probably would have said, probably a miss there. So he's got the size. He's just barely lacking on the speed and the 3 cone, according to the information here. So I know there's been many people ask me about him too. What do you think of Savion? So
interesting fact about him is he, again, one of those guys that's like not a great run blocker, but randomly in 2024, he had a running grade of 90.5, and it looked like in multiple games he had over 80%. He had an 83, an 80, a 72, a 69, and a 91.1 against Arizona in the running game. So,
and so again, the way I set this system up right here was these type of guys, they're going to get the nod. And then as we go through the draft season, we get closer to draft, we can decide if we want to take them off the board in terms of that threshold meet. Okay. So most people just do minimum threshold, and that's it. End of discussion. I like to give us a little bit of leeway there. So next on the list here, we've got Xavier Restrepo, 5'10", short, 198 pounds, light, arm length, 30.5 inches, short. So not looking good, right? It says fit. No. Restrepo's agility, 6'7", 8'3" cone, and speed are great, but 5'10", 198 with short arms doesn't match Green Bay's size bias. So I know we talked about that a little bit, haven't we, Tim, about Restrepo? If I remember correctly, he had pretty good grades. Jacob, do you have his grades pulled up? Restrepo's
he's got great grades. 2022 is a 74.7, 23 87.4 playing 13 games, and then 2024 was a 81.8 playing 12 games. He had over 1,000 yards the last 2 seasons. The guy's for real. Had 11 touchdowns last year.
Yep, and we got him in the 54 spot on the big board. So it sucks that he's not going to meet the threshold, at least to the nth degree. But again, this doesn't mean the Packers wouldn't draft him. We're just going kind of off. I mean, you could go with that height. You could say, okay, we drafted people that short before, but not with that short and that light of weight. So
yeah, I think Restrepo, Burden, and Noel are probably the three top sub 6 foot guys. I think right now.
All right. Next, we got Ty Felton out of Maryland, 6'1", 190. That's a little light, obviously. He's got an estimated RAS of 8.4. It says fit, borderline. Felton, 6'1", height works, but 190 pounds is light. Speed and jumps are solid. Could sneak in if the Packers bend on the weight. So that's someone I'm sure that it being a borderline, I may have put it next to him. We probably need to. What do you have on our boy Ty Felton?
Ty Felton is coming off the best year of his collegiate career, it looks like. 1,000-yard season, 9 tutters, 11.7 yards of reception, 143 targets, 96 receptions on 143 targets. Looks like he plays out wide. He plays in the slot. So there's a little bit of versatility there. And again, the measurables, yeah, he's a little
close, right?
little on the slim side, but definitely tall enough. I mean,
so we don't have
evaluate guys like this sometimes,
It really is. We don't have him locked in as a threshold meet right now. Should we put him in? What do you guys think based off of what we got here? Borderline fit.
Yeah.
Jacob's looking at it actually where he's rated. See, I got him in the 142 spot. Jacob's like, let's not even worry about it. Let's just, even if he is a fit, let's say he's not. Right, Jacob?
I mean, I don't know. I'm not too big on him. He just seems like he started off this last year, like Tim said, and he was elite. He had a 91, a 87, a 73, and 84, and then the rest of the year was just 60s, low 60s as well. So I don't know if something happened there, but I haven't seen enough production, and it was real quick in the beginning of that year that carried him throughout the rest of the year as to why he graded well.
Got it. Tim, you got anything to add on Ty Felton? You good, Buck?
Nope. I think that's pretty spot on there, Jacob. Mr.
Right,
Manscaped.
That being said, that's going to do it for hour one. For those of you listening on the pod, we will see you on the other side for hour two. We appreciate y'all.
For those of you listening on the pod,
welcome back. What a way to end that hour one, right? Good job, Dick. You always bring the
hour two brought to you by Manscaped.
Oh, God almighty. Cringe. Kyle Williams, Washington State, 6 foot, 200 pounds, 31 1/4 inch arms, 4'4", 540, 6'8", second 3-cone, 419 on the shuttle, 13 reps, 36-inch vertical, pretty solid there. Broad jump of 10 foot. RAS is estimated somewhere around 8.9 when I did this write-up. Yes, Williams hit 6 foot, 200 pounds exactly, with strong speed and explosiveness, well-rounded, day 3 to 4 fit is what it said. What do y'all think about Kyle Williams out of Washington State?
I mean, Tim, another guy that played his best year of football this last year. This was a little more convincing. He played 13 games. He played over 100 in the slot, nearly 350 and out wide. Had 70 catches on 101 targets with almost 1,200 yards, but he averaged 17.1 with 14 tuds. That's pretty impressive there, right?
Yeah, numbers don't lie, right? But again, it's tricky because when you go back to 23 and 22, it looks a little less exciting, right? So, trying to come up with, which player are we going to get in the draft? But I tell you, it doesn't hurt you, right? Coming off your best year of football going into the draft. I think that, he's worth taking a look at. I don't know if this guy is, a super early grab. Well, PFS got him at 160. Where is he at on our board? Is he a top 200 on our board?
This is interesting because this is one I've struggled with a little bit. Kyle Williams is in the 430 spot.
So nowhere near.
Wow. But here's why. When we put the consensus big board information in, so as the college football season wrapped up, the consensus big board runs all year long, right? So guys are shuffling up and down. He was in the 840 spot. So if we just remove the consensus big board grade or update it, we talked about this 3 times now. I'm getting to the point where I think we should put the updated number in because it's obvious that, I don't think that GMs are going to see him as an undrafted free agent. At least it don't feel like it because it says day 3 to 4 fit, right? So what do you guys think? Should we put in the new consensus big board information into that or just leave it where it's at? I'm good either way.
Does it feel like more work for really not that much of a payoff, or like?
I mean, I can find it right now. As a matter of fact, let's see. Kyle Williams. This is the difference now. At the end of the football season, he went from 840, to 147. Literally, on January 25th, he was ranked 562nd. And then he jumped all the way up to 249 like the next day. So now he's consistently climbed up through the offseason. Obviously, he was at the Senior Bowl. He was at the Combine. So he's impressed enough that he continues to rise up. It looks like he actually peaked at 138. Right now he's sitting at 147. So what do you guys think?
I mean, I'm looking at my cheat sheet from the Senior Bowl, and I've got a lot of receivers highlighted.
He actually got a bonus from the Senior Bowl from Daniel Jeremiah too.
So it shows you what the hell I know because he's not even on my radar. I had Pat Bryant, Restrepo, Jaden Higgins.
It It was probably. I bet you did have Jaden Higgins. It was probably him watching practice all week long, Daniel Jeremiah. So the fact that Daniel Jeremiah gave him a 5-point bonus, and listen, guys, there's only like 10 guys on our board that gets the Daniel Jeremiah Senior Bowl bonus, right? I'm going to put this new number in. I'm going to put it in, and you guys just remember the name, Kyle Williams. If for some reason he goes undrafted, go, damn it, we had it right, okay? But let's put the new number in, and let's see exactly how far he jumps here on our board. Give me just a second. Now we got
breaking news. Clayton
let's
is
see
updating.
where he falls. So his grade now jumps to a 116, and let's see where that puts him on our big board. He is now all of a sudden in the 159 spot. So that would match now with
PFF.
Yeah.
PFF's got him at 160.
There you go. So I feel better about that than him sitting down there in 400s when Daniel Jeremiah's going, this dude really balled out at the Senior Bowl, So
it's like he's going to be an undrafted free agent. No, he's not. He's going in the third round. It's like somewhere in between.
So he says, here's the final list of 2025 wide receivers who hit most or all of Green Bay's marks. Okay. It says Ted McMillan, Emeka Egbuka, Alec Anyamanor, Tory Horton, Jalen Royals, Savion Williams, and Kyle Williams are the ones that it lists here on the short list. And again, keep in mind, I had rigged the system to give us a little borderline approach and fudge it in that direction. As we get closer, we're going to narrow it down and actually get you guys the true minimum thresholds. This was the starting point as we're waiting for the information to kind of be complete. If that makes sense. So, what do you guys when you look at that list? Who do you say? Here's what it comes down to. You can take if Ted McMillan falls to you, you can take him. Obviously, we all agree. If Ted McMillan's there at 23, we're probably taking him. Do we agree with that? Wide receiver 1 in this draft. Most people. Do you agree with that, Tim, or no?
What, that if he's on the board at 23?
At 23, would you take Ted McMillan?
I don't know what 3 techs are on the board.
Exactly, right? Exactly. What I was going to say is what it comes down to, if Ted falls that far, there's a good chance you can take Ted McMillan and Emeka Egbuka in the first round, one of those 2 guys, right? Or you can pass and then move on to Alec Anyamanor or Tory Horton or Jalen Royals or a little later at Savion Williams.
Why isn't Trey Harris on this list?
Like I said, we don't have everything. It didn't have all the information compiled yet. So this is just a short list of players that would. I'm sure he probably.
If I got to go receiver at 23 and it's and Ted's on the board, I'm taking Ted McMillan for sure.
Let's pop it in here right now, Jacob. I'm going to put, does Trey Harris meet the Packers minimum threshold?
It's funny, Jacob, because I was thinking the same thing about Jaden Higgins.
That's what a bunch of people in the chat are asking here.
Mm-hmm.
Also, but guys
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, also guys like Pat Bryant, Jack Besh, Deontay Thornton Jr. from Tennessee. That's a big old guy.
You guys keep talking a second. I'm gonna try to get
Rock
this
Taylor out of Memphis, Pat Bryant, Illinois. I mean, yeah, you're right.
There's a bunch. There's a bunch that's going to end up being on it for sure. This was, like I said, just kind of the starting point.
I think Michael Golden would probably be on there, or Matthew. Sorry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Matthew Golden. Yep.
Let's see what we got here.
Ricky White, UNLV.
Isaac Tesla. Let's go.
You guys want you guys are good with every receiver in this draft, aren't you?
As long as they're taller than 6 feet. Ja'Cory Brooks, Louisville. Let's go.
Yep. So when you put Trey Harris into the system, he does meet it. Yep. So what we're trying to do is, like I said, the system is set up for those borderline guys, right? So, and Ted McMillan, it's funny, 6'5", 212 pounds, considered a borderline guy, right? Dude's a freaking monster, but again, is Jordan Schultz lying? That's the question, right? That's what it's going to come down to. So there's going to be a bunch of receivers that meet the criteria. There's no doubt when it's all said and done. All right. Verdict, it just kind of talks about where these guys are going to be drafted, things like that. So what do you guys think? That list there, is there anybody on that list that you go, got to have him? The only one that really pops to me is Emeka Egbuka.
Really?
Yeah, that's the one that I'm like, yeah, that's the dude. That's the dude. I'm thinking more first round. Not that I would take a first round wide receiver. I'm simply saying, like, of this list, the one that really sticks out, like, boy, that just kind of feels like a Packer receiver For me, it's Egbuka.
Yeah, I would say that's fair. I think the top three really all fit the best.
Definitely.
Yeah, Anyamara, Egbuka, and McMillan for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. So let's move it along to the next topic here. We did a little breakdown, something similar. It's not going to be all the corners, but just a significant amount of corners that ran through the system here in terms of minimum threshold. So this is going to be the cornerback approach to what we just did. Okay, you're going to see some that are big names, others that might be late round sleepers. It's not the entire database. So the goal of these exercises to get people thinking, and really it's like we can sit here and look at the ones that are slam dunks. This dude's going to fit, that dude's going to fit. It's more or less like who's kind of on the edge. This time I took a little bit different approach, and we tried to trigger it towards first round talent. That makes sense. So we're looking for corners that, like, I think if Jair is gone, which it kind of feels like, the longer we go, and I know I said if it's going to happen, if a trade's going to happen, it'll probably happen on draft night. But the longer we go, the more I'm feeling like, damn, I think Jair going to be a Packer. That's going to be pretty cool. And when you say that, it's not to say we won't draft another corner either, right? That could happen. So you notice here on the image, we got Jahdae Barron, right? Jahdae Barron's an interesting prospect when you go through this stuff. So I said with Jair's future shaky, let's look at which corners fit Goody's athletic threshold. All right. So here is the threshold that we're showing. And again, it's going to give you kind of a borderline approach as well. It says Gutekunst's cornerback picks like Jair Alexander, Eric Stokes, Carrington Valentine lean toward high-end athletes. They bent rules. Alexander at 5'10", but the trend is clear. Length and speed rule. Here's the profile. 5'10", but 5'11" plus is preferred. 180 plus pounds, but 190 plus pounds is ideal. That's why people were freaking out over Maxwell Harrison, which now I think he's up to, like, I can't remember what he's up to. He gained a little bit of weight.
186.
Is that what it is? So he's like, I'm going to hit 190, by God. It's going to happen. Arm length, 31 inches, although 32 plus is a bonus. 40-yard dash, sub 4 or 5. Got to have that speed to stick to the wide receivers. 3-cone drill, sub 6.9 seconds. Agility for mirroring. Short shuttle, sub 4.2 seconds. Quick hips. Bench press, 12 plus reps. Strength for press coverage. Vertical jump of 35 inches plus to help with the ball skills. Broad jump of 10 foot. For the explosiveness, RAS of 8 plus, although 9 plus is the sweet spot. All right, so let's look at some of the players. Surprise, surprise. Travis Hunter, probably going to meet that criteria, right? We're showing a projected 4.4 flat for him. Don't know if we got that information yet. Short shuttle projected at a 4.1. He did not test with the bench press. I don't blame him. If he comes up weak there, anybody will look for a reason to knock him down a touch. Vertical jump did not test, projected 38 inches. If he were to hit those, you're looking at a guy that obviously is going to be a pretty good fit, right? Yes, projected Hunter is 6'1", 185 pound with long arm fits, and his Heisman winning tape screams elite athleticism, top 5 lock, but a dream Packers cornerback. So obviously he is not going to be on the board when the Packers pick at 23. Benjamin Morrison, interesting. 6 foot, 190, 31 3/4, 40-yard dash, 4.45, 3-cone, 6.85, short shuttle, 4.12, bench press 14 reps, vertical 36 inches, broad jump 10.2, RAS 9.1 is estimated. Fit, yes. Morrison's size, speed, and agility are spot on. Explosive jumps, 36 inches, 10'2" broad, and pass ready strength make him a Packers fit first round target. You guys know how I feel about Benjamin Morrison. I'm not as big on him, and I'm a big Notre Dame guy. Just because I don't know, man. Just the way last year happened with the hip injury and everything, it worries me a little bit. What do you think about Benjamin Morrison, Jacob? And you got to keep in mind that we got that red box on the 2024 grade because obviously he was injured and you got kind of a shorter season. But still, I want to say he had like a significant amount of snaps. Am I right there? You're muted, bro.
Yeah, he actually had 314 snaps, and he didn't allow any touchdowns that year. Only allowed 125 yards. I mean, limited targets, 27. Only allowed 12 receptions, but I mean that's pretty darn good. The year before in 2023, he had almost an 80 grade. Played 12 games. The year before, he played 13 games. So the kind of durability thing was just this last year. I'm a little bit intrigued, a little more than you are with Benjamin Morrison, but I'm definitely not. He's not my top 5.
If you're looking for a man-to-man guy, he's a pretty good argument, right? He's man-to-man outside corner predominantly, but yeah, I don't know. The hip injury is I don't know. That's interesting to see how fully he's going to recover from that, going into the NFL, playing at that level.
He is most mocked in PFF to the Packers.
Yeah.
Really?
So the big thing that brings him down is he's 330th at his position in 2024. Now we've got the red block, like I said, indicating, okay, injury. So if you go to the year prior, like Jacob was saying, he was 103rd, then he was 118th the year before that. So PFF Big Board, though, had him in the 15 spot. Consensus Big Board had him at 22. Daniel Jeremiah had him at 45. Kyle Krabs had him at 38, and Dane Brugler had him at 55. If we removed the PFF grade aspect of our board, he'd be up there in a first round grade, right? He got a -5 for the RAS bonus. He's good to go there. His final grade ended up being a 58.9. And typically you can look at our final grade number, and it typically will sit kind of like whatever the grade number is, you can kind of make a case for them being picked around that number. If that makes sense. So Benjamin Morrison, again, I would love to see another Irish on the Packers, but I wouldn't hold my breath on that one. I don't know, man. It's just something, especially with the hip injury too. And I'm sure he's healthy now. I'm sure he's cleared everything. It's just that worries me. Hips are weird, man. They're weird. Jacob said, "You telling me I work at the Oval Office?"
The hips don't lie, as they say.
A wise woman once said that, I believe.
Yeah,
so
she didn't pay her taxes though.
That's what took Bo Jackson out too. Not the Oval Office, but a hip injury. You know what I'm saying? Like that's another thing. I'm telling you that they're not fun. So
SDM 40 says Morrison also had a hip injury in high school. If that's the case, then that may
Is it the same hip?
I hope not, man.
Then that means he's got two bad hips.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, maybe I do hope.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. I didn't even know that, and even being a Notre Dame fan, I'm watching right now. Here Comes the Irish. I don't know if you've seen that on Peacock yet, man. It's so good. They went behind the scenes last year and followed Notre Dame, and Xavier Watts' story is really interesting. I can't wait to root for that dude in the NFL. That's one I'm not looking at a safety this year as a Packers fan, but boy, if they draft Xavier Watts, I would be totally fine with it. So. But yeah, Will Johnson's up next out of Michigan, 6'2", 202, 33-inch arms, 3-cone, did not test. You got a lot of projection here, okay? But it says with the projection, 6'2", 202, with those arms, it's ideal. Skip the combine with the shoulder injury, but tape and prior buzz suggests he'd hit the threshold's top 10 pick. We talked about him significantly. That injury history was wild. Jacob, were you on that show with us? I know, Tim, you were here, right, when we broke it down?
Yep.
Man, it was just like
he's like taped together, poor guy. So that to me is another one. Almost, I mean, Morrison is a light version of this, and even Morrison's got me a little shaky now. You know what I mean? Will Johnson doesn't seem like he has a bone. He's like the Mr. Glass from Unbreakable.
Yeah, definitely. So it's just if he falls to 23, like I remember when we seen that mock, I was like, let's go, dude. He's the top corner on our board. But man, the injuries is like, what does it matter if he's the top corner if it's I mean, this is the problem we just have with Ja, right? Like
we just had this problem with Marshawn Lloyd at running back. He was top tier running back on our board, and injuries kept him off the field. So,
All right, next we got Azare Thomas out of Florida State, 6'1", 195, 32.25-inch arms, 4.47 40, 3-cone of 6.88, short shuttle 4.18, bench press of 13 reps, vertical of 35.5 inches, broad jump of 10'1", RAS estimated around an 8.9. Fit, yes, Thomas's length and athleticism at 4.47. Fit Hafley's press man scheme. Day 2 gym with starter upside.
And he's barely 21, so
he's gonna say
booty profile very well.
And when I seen that press man scheme, I immediately asked the system, why do you assume he played a press man scheme? And it said, well, he was notorious for it in college. However, he shifted mostly to zone when he got to the Packers. So I was like, caught your ass. That's exactly what I said. Caught you sleeping. So Jahdae Barron, this is the interesting one, man. 5'11", 197 pounds, 31 1/8 inch arms, 40-yard dash of 4.43, 3-cone of 6.75, Short shuttle 405, 15 reps on the bench, 37-inch vert with a broad jump of 10'4". Estimated RAS was 9.4 at the time. His fit, yes. Barron's just under 6 foot, but with his speed, agility, 3-cone jumps are elite. Nickel potential, day 2-3 fit is what it says.
Man.
BS on that, boys. I would be surprised if Jahdae Barron gets out of the first round. That's just me personally.
Me too. And of all the guys that you might, if you're going to go corner and think about going corner in the first round, this would be a guy that would probably be on my short list. I wouldn't feel bad about that pick in the first round. I love Trey Amos, but I don't know if I'd want a guy like Trey Amos that early. You know, I don't know.
If Jahdae Barron, we got him in a 20 spot. If he ends up being a stud, like a superstar, like this dude is just a ball hawk playmaker, right? You'll want to be able to move him around. You'll want to kick him into the slot occasionally and fire a blitz off the edge, or do a little fire zone blitz with him hiding in the nickel and dropping into hook zone, stuff like that, right? We get the V on him for versatile. He's a team captain. The Packers met with him already. I like the measurements. What do you think, Jacob? How you feel about him, man?
I mean, I don't know why this guy hasn't been my favorite. I'm just looking randomly over some of these stats here. 2022 played 13 games, 76.9. 2023, 14 games, 71.5. This last year, he played 16 games with a 90.7 grade. Guys, he almost played 1,000 snaps on defense this last year. He had 541 coverage snaps, only allowed 37 receptions for 68 targets. He allowed 0 touchdowns. He had 5 interceptions. The passer rating against him was 34-2. And guess what? He played slot corner 122 times with wide 679, but the year prior, he played 389 in the slot with only 43 out wide. The year prior to that, 382 in the slot and 138 out wide. This guy is screaming. And when you look at his game-by-game tape, he doesn't have a single bad game except for maybe you could call a 60 against Ohio State. The last game of the year was clearly his worst game. Otherwise, he's in the mid-high 70s, if not 80s. Zone coverage grade of 91.5, coverage grade of 91.1, run defense grade of 83.4. What are we doing? Get him in. Get him in the building.
And available, right? Availability. Clearly no injury issues. So.
None. And Greg Rice says Barron will be gone before 23. I think I would have to agree.
I would agree.
I have a hard time believing he's going to fall to 23.
Probably be the second corner off the board after Hunter.
Wouldn't it be wild if Will Johnson dropped, sink out of sight, Jahdae Barron was the top corner taken, and Will Johnson is up in the second round or something like that? That would totally be something that happened in the draft.
Because what now? So we got Siobhan, Benjamin Morrison, and who's the other one we just talked about? Are all coming off of major injuries. Will Johnson, aren't there a few others too? I mean,
I'm sure. This is the safe one, right
here. Yeah.
So. Yeah, and I'm sure look, I'm not that intelligent. I'm sure we're not the only ones that realize this. So, there's going to be a team like Greg Rice says probably going to go snatch him up early. So, J. Cole says Barron is probably cornerback too. It's kind of what it feels like, but again, with the injury history with Will Johnson, who knows? So interesting though. All right, next on the list, we've got Siobhan Ravel Jr. They've got him listed at 6'3" here with the information it pulled, 193, 32 and 7/8 arms, 4.46. 3-cone did not test. ACL recovery, obviously. Short shuttle did not test. Bench press, 12 reps. Vertical, 36 inches. Broad jump, 10'3". RAS of 8.7. Fit, yes. Ravel's 6'3", and he may be shorter than that, actually. It may have fudged it there a little bit. Height and 32 and 7/8 inch arms are rare. Perfect for Green Bay. Speed and jumps, hits, but no agility data. ACL in 2024. First round upside if healthy. Big if there. Somebody pull it up. How tall is he?
He's 6'3", they say.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. Ryan uncovered that too. The problem we've got is whether you use AI or you use PFF or whatever. Like Ryan uncovered the other day that the combine, I can't remember, somebody was 2 inches off on height. PFF was off 2 inches on a guy on height based off of what he actually measured. It's like, how are you off that damn far? I'll tell you how. People are doing favors behind the scenes, right. and you know what I mean?
Which is so stupid because you're as tall as you are. Your height is your height. Like there's no debate.
Right. So
and this guy's played. Hey, let's just talk about this. He's played 16 games in the last 3 seasons. So, I mean,
Yeah, I was gonna say
you're rolling the dice here for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
High upside though, if he's healthy. But like you said, we're already there with a corner. We've done this with Jair the last 3 years, 2.5 years. So,
and he doesn't seem to have much versatility. He seems to be predominantly wide corner.
yep.
Yeah, exactly. We got him listed as an outside corner. Played at a smaller school, East Carolina. He's only 2 spots behind Jahdae Barron, but he's definitely got that red box, obviously, for 24. So, big red flag there. So, yeah, it's kind of feeling like of all the corners you could potentially take in the first round, Jahdae Barron's the only dude, right?
Dude.
That's how it's feeling as we get closer. So,
Even, I mean, look at your next guy, not to cut you off, but Mr. Maxwell, I was starting to be a little more seeing some upside, but like he's played it's 2022, only played 4 games. 2023, which is a surprise. His best year at 81.8, played 13, great. But then this last year comes in with a 67, only playing 7 games.
Mm-hmm.
It's like these cornerbacks are made of glass lately.
And the 40-yard dash is way off here at a 4.49. Cross-checking that. So 6'1", 186 is what he's listed at right now. That's the latest weight. Is that the weight that just popped up the other day? Tim just muted. I'm sorry, Tim. Don't worry about it. I'm pretty sure you said 186 was the latest weight too. So
on Harrison, yeah, 186. Yep.
He posted a picture on a scale. See, I'm usually going in the opposite, trying to go in the opposite direction from gaining weight. And my man was bragging about putting on a little weight. So it says his 40's a 4.49, but he's scorched the 40. You guys remember it's a 4.3, whatever it was, right?
He's a zone master too, man. That's a good zone corner right there.
Yeah. 3 cones, 6.92. That's a miss according to that. If that is correct, short shuttle 4.22 is a miss as well. Vertical's a miss at 34.5. Broad jump 9'11". Fit still saying borderline. Harrison's size and speed work, but his 3 cone and jumps fall short. Ball skills shine. It's saying day 3 option. It's funny too because you guys remember where we had him on our board for the longest time was really late, and now all of a sudden people are talking first round pick. I don't know, man. There's still just something about Maxwell Harrison that worries me a little bit.
We did all right with the last corner from Kentucky, though.
That's true. That's true.
We had some concerns about him, too. He turned out okay.
Yeah. Now, he did get the Senior Bowl bonus, though, man. Daniel Jeremiah was bragging about him at the Senior Bowl big time. So you got to take that into consideration as well. Maxwell Harrison's just one that worries me a little bit, man. He did crack the 9+ RES, obviously, but I don't know, man. We
SDN 40. You want me to tackle or be healthy?
right.
Sincerely, your pal, every cornerback ever.
That's a fact, dude. That is a fact.
True.
All right. Zy Alexander's up next. 6'2", 191, 191 pounds, arm length, 32 inches, 4'5", 40. 3 cones, 6'8", short shuttle, 415, bench press, 14 reps, vertical of 35 inches, 10-foot broad jump, RES estimated around an 8.5 fit. Yes, Alexander's 4'5", 40 is a hair slow, but his 6'2" frame, length, and agility fit jumps hit the mark. Day 3 values. What it's saying here. What do you think about Zy? We've mocked him a couple times, right? Am I thinking right?
At least once, I think. Yeah.
Zai's kind of a weird guy because usually you see like he's had 1 good year and it was blah, blah, blah. He had 2 good years with the last year and 2023 not being his best, but 12 games in 2022 with almost an 80 grade. 2023 he fell off a little bit with a 63 playing 8 games. And then this last year in 24 had an 81-2 playing 11 games. Passer rating of 53-2 against him, allowed only 2 touchdowns, had 2 interceptions. Predominantly wide corners exclusively. I'm not sure if that's something that's going to maybe pigeonhole him a little bit into certain teams, but what do you think about him, Tim?
Good zone guy, another guy, coverage kind of corner. The athletic ability kind of leaves something to be desired compared to other guys like in that category. It's funny, we're looking at Noel Williams, I see here is up next. Like these 2 I have really close on my list. I actually have Noel Williams 1 tier higher than Zy Alexander, but I like Zy Alexander for sure. I just don't know. I definitely don't think he's a day 1 pick for us for sure. But I would say that he does fit the threshold, just like the system's telling us here. I would agree.
Yeah, we got him in the 94 spot on our board as a situation.
Where's Noel Williams, just out of curiosity, on ours?
Look, we're going to get to it right now, I believe, actually. Let me do this. Let me scroll down. Noah Williams, 6'1", 187 pounds, 31 3/8 arms, 4.44 40, 6'8", 3 cone, 4.10 short shuttle, 12 reps on the bench, 36.5-inch vert, pretty solid. 10'2" broad jump, yes, he fits. Speed, agility, and jumps are Packers ready. Led the nation with 7 interceptions. Is that right? That's pretty wild.
Yep.
Day 3 still is what it says. So, Tim, you were asking, well, we've got Noah Williams on our board. I want to say he's a little bit lower, but I could be wrong. Yeah, we've got him significantly lower. Let's talk about why here.
Okay, cool.
So we've got Noah Williams in the 182 spot. And the reason being, PFF grades in 2022, he was 303rd at his position. He fell to 319 in 23, and then in 2024 he jumped all the way to 80th. So big jump, obviously showed improvement. The PFF big board had him at 150. The consensus big board had him at 215. However, Daniel Jeremiah said not Daniel Jeremiah, I can't remember who it was. Someone said that he shined at the East-West Shrine Bowl week. The practice and everything really stood out. 33rd team has him at 144, so that hurt him quite a bit. Dane Brugler had him at 91st. And when we got the RAS, we were actually showing an RAS at the time of a 7+, but I need to go double check that right now. Not sure if anybody's got his RAS or not. We're looking for Noah Williams' RAS. I'll see if I can find it. But you guys talk about Noah for a second. Those interceptions, that grabs my attention.
I mean, the thing I like the most about him, and I think maybe it's my bias that is why I have him higher than Alexander, this is just like a physical freak of a corner. And I don't even just mean like the size measurables, but like the way he plays the game. I mean, if you want a guy that's going to jam a receiver off the snap, at the line, this is your dude. This is a guy that may be the exception to that rule. I don't think he's scared to tackle anybody. And we know how Hafley likes his corners, right? We want guys aggressive, playing the ball, and not being afraid to come up and, make a tackle. So that's the thing I think kind of sets him apart from Alexander, is just the physicality that he plays the game with.
Yeah, I'll say he kind of is exciting me a little bit more than I thought originally. 71-7, 72 flat, and then 80. He played 11 games, 13 games. He's durable. He played almost 900 snaps this last year, almost 550 coverage snaps. He, again, with the production, had 7 interceptions, only had a pass rating of 40.1, again, predominantly outside corner. But you look at where he's trended, there is not another team. We are 3 times the most drafted to Green Bay than the next team, which would be Minnesota and then Tampa. Seems like could be a fit.
Deadfish is saying a 7.69, and what I just pulled, Deadfish was saying an 8+ RAS, 8.32. It says this reflects solid blah, blah, blah. Let me see here what it says here. RAS calculation context. See, if there's stuff missing on there, what AI is doing. Tell me this, Deadfish. When you say a 7.69 RAS, did you, when you pulled that, I'm sure you pulled that from the RAS website, does it show the card full? If you can answer that for me. Is all 4 boxes filled with information, or is there a part missing? Because one of the things, I'm seeing a tentative RAS of 8.32, looks like an educated guess. That's what I'm seeing too, United Base. I'm thinking, what's happening with AI is it's pulling, what they think they're going to run, kind of pass testing, things like that, where people are projecting them to run, even though the RAS card isn't complete. And that's why we've been trying to put yellow boxes up on the draft board too. So
I got a question on Williams. I'm noticing touchdowns. You see that, Jacob? The guy's got he's got like 8 touchdowns in the last 3 seasons.
Who does?
You saw like pick sixes, or is he a special teamer too?
No, that's touchdowns against him. Yeah.
Oh, that he gave up. Okay. Yeah. I'm thinking this guy's a return guy here. Holy cow.
Tim got excited. Hey,
I got excited. I'm like, wow.
That is a steal
with some of these receiver numbers out here.
Yeah, most he's allowed in the season was 3, which isn't ideal, but that's nothing I'm really gonna. When you're playing almost 900 defensive snaps,
right?
That's pretty okay with me, man.
Yeah. Deadfish said he pulled it from Google Only Got You, so it might have been like a prior version of it, but I think we were spot on here. Greg Rice says no 3-cone, no shuttle. There you go. So it's kind of projecting where he's going to finish. I went ahead and put the -3 in there because that's the latest that the system is saying when you kind of get that projection. But we'll make sure everything's accurate before the draft gets here for sure. Which, by the way, Mandy just being the brains of the operation, she just ordered 10 koozies that are NFL drafting Green Bay koozies. It's got Lambeau on it and stuff. We're going to be doing a giveaway with those here soon as well. So we got a bunch of giveaways coming up. Going to be awesome. I can't wait for the draft, dude. I'm so freaking excited. It's like I can't believe we're about a month out. It still feels like it's a year away. And then I know we're going to look up here in a couple of weeks and go, I'll be damn, it's here. Let's go. So it's gonna be fun going up to Green Bay for sure. Looking forward to meeting some folks too. Trey Amos, 6'1", 197, 32.5-inch arms, 4'4", 43 cone, 6'9", 042 short shuttle, 13 bench reps. We got a vertical of 34 inches. That's a miss, along with that 3 cone, according to this. Broad jump, 9'10". That's a miss. RAS 8.4. It says borderline fit. He's got the size. It's ideal, but his 3 cone and jumps miss slightly, is what it says. Physically fits the day 3 option. So again, this is not giving us like any kind of definitive anything. But what do you guys think about Trey Amos, man? We've been high on him at times. We've been low on him at times. What do y'all think about Trey?
He's my guy. I like him. I like him a lot.
We got him in the 53 spot, bro.
53. Okay. 2022, 71.5. Again, a guy that's very durable. Played 11 games in 2022, 13 and 23, 13 and 24, 85.6 grade in 2024, 76.9 in 2023. And this last year, he almost played again 850 defensive snaps. I mean, absolutely durable and just reliable. He only allowed 2 touchdowns, had 3 interceptions himself. He allowed a passer rating of only 54.5, and again, very predominantly outside corner, almost exclusively. He played 2 snaps in the slot all of last year, 6 the year before, 15 the year before that. When you look at somebody, we talked about one of the other guys that started strong and ended weak. This guy started extremely strong with a 92.4, fell off a little bit, but then after week 6 on, he had an 81.6, almost a 70 grade, a 73.4, fell off with a 60.2, but then a 75, 70, 71, and almost an 80 against Duke. Completely ended the year with a absolute bang. 85.6 coverage grade, run defense grade of 81 flat. I mean, what more could you ask for?
Yeah, everybody in the chat's saying it too. They don't think Amos will make it out of the second. I agree. I disagree with that day 3-4 option there completely, for sure. So, all right, Tim, you got spooking around. You good, Tim?
Yeah, my wife's doing something upstairs. I have no idea.
Gotcha. We didn't hear a thing. I just seen you go.
Sounds like she's fighting a bear or something up there.
She's got Mrs. Green can handle this. She can handle her own. No doubt about that. All right, so it talks here a little bit, and again, these are somewhat vague. Everything's incomplete. We're kind of getting ahead of the horse, but it's saying here are the cornerback.
Yo, my bad.
That is awesome. We didn't hear it, Mrs. Green. We just seen Tim's.
We didn't say nothing. I didn't say anything.
I literally, the first thing, pray for the bear is what Prince says. I love it. So here's what the system says, or kind of the fits, hit most or all of Green Bay marks, right? Travis Hunter out of Colorado, Benjamin Morrison out of Notre Dame, Will Johnson out of Michigan, Azarae Thomas out of Florida State, Jahdae Barron out of Texas, Siobhan Ravel Jr. out of East Carolina, Zy Alexander out of LSU, and Noel Williams out of Cal. You notice Trey Amos isn't on this list, right? And it has nothing to do with the size. So we'll see when the final verdict comes in. We get all the numbers put into the system. I have a hard time believing he won't be on there. I went ahead and gave him the googly eyes because I'm like, that is a dream for Goody right there if he can meet those athletic thresholds. You know what I mean? Not necessarily the physical ones. So what do y'all think about this list here? And is there anybody that's not on this list that you think, I like them better?
Jahdae Barron or bust. Let's go.
I like that a lot. I'd like to maybe see how Dorian Strong and Darian Porter would line up on that, but I think that's a decent list. O'Donnell Fortune is another guy that keeps popping up.
You read my mind, man. I'm looking at my list. I'm like, what about O'Donnell Fortune? Has he moved at all on the board?
What's that?
O'Donnell Fortune. Has he moved up or down at all?
I want to say you guys keep bringing him up, and he's like, every time I have to go, no, he's way down here. Let's see if we can find him. O'Donnell, right?
Yeah.
Let's see.
O'Donnell.
What's the last name? Spell it for me.
Fortune. Fortune.
Yeah,
and
Tim.
I've got one more for you too after this.
He's still in the basement, Tim. He's at 254. But the reason is that consensus big board. The consensus big boards had him at 352 at the end of the year. And that's, again, we got to make tough decisions on whether we want to put new numbers in or not. You know what I mean? I love trying to keep the old numbers in because it keeps things honest at how people felt at the end of the season. But, yeah, that's where we got him. What's the other name you were talking about, Tim?
USC, Jalen
Jalen
Smith.
Smith. I knew you were going to say it.
Yeah.
Jalen Smith. Is it Jay? Is that right?
Yep, Jaylin Smith out of USC.
We got Jalen Smith in the 210 spot, Tim. We were showing an RAS of less than 7. I don't know if that's changed.
Okay.
Yeah, versatile, though. Definitely versatile corner is what we got on the board.
I think that's probably why I was so high on him, because he had the V.
The big thing that brings him down is his 2023 grade at 460. I can't remember if it actually factors in or not. It may not. But the consensus big board also had him at 225. PFF big board had him at 153 at the time. So that's
I think he's a little on the undersized size, right? If I'm remembering correctly.
Mm-hmm. I think he may be. He definitely doesn't.
5'11", 190 according to PFF. Yeah.
All right. Fred McFarley says, thanks, Manscaped, Tim, and Clayton. There you go. Appreciate it. All right. So, all right, we're at the 126 mark, man. This was fun. I feel like we covered a lot of information. Again, I didn't want to just line these guys up and go, these are the only guys that definitely fit. We wanted to kind of look at it from an outside looking in approach and get us thinking a little bit, going into the draft. So hopefully everybody enjoyed that. And I'm sure there's a couple names. The big thing that my takeaway, I'm going to ask your all's takeaway from tonight, and we'll wrap up. The big takeaway is I was a little surprised by Emeka Egbuka, how much he fit. And then, obviously, Jahdae Barron. We all came away with the same thing with Jahdae Barron. Was like, holy cow, this he's probably that dude in the first round. Probably is. So what's your all's take from what we covered? Anything you want to add? We'll wrap up here, man.
Yeah, Jaden Higgins didn't make the list for the Packers thresholds.
Let me do that right
Wait, I already added that earlier.
Go ahead, Jacob. I'm gonna look up Jaden Higgins for Tim right now.
No, I think you nailed it. It'd be the Jahdae Barron was clearly far and away when you consider all of the injury history with some of these top tier cornerbacks. It just seems like he's a no-brainer. If that is like your biggest position of need that you feel like he's the best person on the board, right? That's a run it up pick. The other thing that pops off is it seems like Ole Miss players, if we drafted every prospect from Ole Miss, I think I'd be cool with it. Like, honestly, from the wide receiver, the cornerback, Jared Ivey, Princely Umanemlin. There's a couple others, Chris Paul Jr., a bunch of them, man. It's like everybody on that team. It's like I just fallen more and more in love with some of it actually helped looking at the cornerbacks too, because it helped me feel a little more comfortable looking at later guys like Noel Williams, Azare, a couple of those other guys. If they were to fall, I'd feel a little more confident with them. So,
yep.
Got it. All right, Tim, you ready for this? We got Jaden Higgins here.
Let's go.
This is the conclusion. We won't go through the entire thing. You guys know how big he is. 6'4", 214. He's a dog, right?
6'5".
Is he officially 6'5"? Because it says
I'm going with 6'5".
It says 6'4". It says from the combine 76 inches, listed as 6'0", at the combine. So 6'5".
6'5" with cleats on. We're good.
Yeah.
All right. It says yes, he meets it, Tim. You can rest easy. Surprise, right? Jaden Higgins.
Here's the guy.
Smile, Tim. The Clinton says.
Jaden Higgins meets and exceeds the Green Bay Packers minimum athletic threshold for wide receivers. His 6'4", 214 pounds satisfy the team's size preferences, while his athletic testing 4'4", 40. You guys double check that. 39-inch vert, 10'9" broad, 9.92 RAS. Far surpasses their benchmarks for speed and explosiveness. Higgins' profile mirrors the Packers' ideal outside receiver archetype, big, physical, and athletic, seen in players like Watson and even Dobbs, it says. His exceptional RAS and combine performance suggests he'd fit seamlessly into Green Bay's offensive scheme, potentially a second-round target.
You sure about that?
Draft, where the Packers have historically found receiver talent. Barring scheme fit concerns, needing more slot-specific agility, Higgins checks every box for old Gutekunst's athletic standards.
So, in other words,
he was the best guy around.
Right. So, Tim, I want you to be able to experience this here. Okay, you're going to see me put the googly eyes on Jaden Higgins right here. We've been holding off because I was doing that little exercise. So let's throw it up here. Jaden Higgins, sir, you are beautiful.
Heard it from a fan right here.
We got him in the 58 spot. It's just so interesting with Higgins because it's like you can't justify using a first-round pick on him, but I don't know if he's going to last to 58. Like we pick at 54, right? Am I thinking right, Tim? 54? Yeah.
50,
so if everything fell like our board, we're perfect. We're good. We're good to go, baby. We're going to get him with the 54th pick. But I have a hard time believing that somebody ain't going to try to jump up there and grab him, man. He looks like a dog. He really does. So it's kind of come full circle here. Coach Lynn, I can see the Packers trade back in the first and grab. Ooh, I would love
so awesome.
Yeah,
dude, if we say we trade back and we're still able to grab like a Nolan or a Harmon somehow, or even some sort of edge, pick up like a weird, tweener second or third, and
that would be sick. If you come away with like you said, like a Derek Harmon, arguably the best pass rush and defensive tackle, or even a Walter Nolan, which I'm telling you, man, you think Tim got excited over Higgins all off season long? If y'all could have seen my reaction when I heard Greg Cosell say Walter Nolan was his top defensive tackle, I'm freaked out. I was in the shower when I heard it, Jacob. I dropped the soap, bro. I immediately said out loud, man, he was probably thought, who's Mason Graham? Who's he talking to in there? I said, what about Mason Graham? That's what I said out loud. Like I was talking to myself in the shower. But yeah. And again, watch him end up being a bust and nobody will ever trust Greg Cosell again. So that's the way. And that's the NFL draft, folks. That's the way it operates. So, all right, we're out, guys. Thank y'all so much for hanging out with us. Thanks to Hardy the Prophet for the super chat. Also, thanks to everybody in the Patreon group, Growing Like a Weed. Appreciate the DMs. Appreciate you guys reaching out. Go check out the content in there. It's been a lot of fun putting it together. We're learning a lot. And again, just trying to think outside of the box with some of these exercises we're doing. So with that being said, we will see y'all tomorrow morning, 8:30 a.m. Central for a little Good Morning Lambeau, talk some Packers, talk some draft then. So everybody have a great night. Appreciate you.
And we go. We out.
We're out. Bye, guys.